everybody, it's Safi and Marco, dish out on the movies. Today, Marco and I are doing our top 10, well that would be the minimum anyway, worst movie TV characters. So like TV shows and a bad character or characters from that show. And the minimum would be top 10, and Marco had a few extra to add to his.
So you want me to do the dishonorable mentions now?
Oh, is that what the extras are? Dishonorable mentions?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, first off, we got Lucky from King of the Hill. And now, we have to put a disclaimer because for some reason, there's this really weird thing nowadays where if you criticize a character, you're automatically criticizing an actor personally. And that's just not the case. It's, you're criticizing a character that they're playing. You're not criticizing them as a person unless you're directly doing that. Like, if I said Amber Heard is a piece of shit, that's me saying that she's a piece of shit personally. But if I said Amber Heard's character in that one movie is a piece of shit, I'm not commenting about her as a person at all. So, right off the bat, Lucky from King of the Hill, he's a really weird character, and Tom Petty played him, and he looked like an old woman, and he always had like the same like outfit on, and he had the buck teeth thing, and he was just so unlikable. And just the thing that was so terrible was the fact that Luann, I felt like she had the worst outcome out of all the people on the whole show of King of the Hill, because she became this trailer trash wife with him, and they had trailer trash babies together, and it's terrible. And so I really felt like he was a terrible character, and that they could have gotten her a much better like love interest, because that was his purpose on the show, was being her love interest.
Now that's interesting because, I won't upset you, but I'm thinking about a political person who would have been a great, like a character. Probably. Okay,
Safi, that's not.
To go with him, but I've forgotten about that character, but. That's an interesting... I like Tom Petty.
Well, I just said it's not him, it's that character.
I know, but it was interesting. They made a character that was kind of based on him. I mean,
what do you mean?
Looks.
He doesn't look like that character. He looks a lot better than that character.
Well, he looked better, but...
A lot better. He doesn't look like an old woman.
He passed away, so... But he was a great entertainer, so...
Well, his character was trash. And next up you have Jethro from Beverly Hillbillies. This character, he starts off in the first season like, okay, he has some funny jokes here and there. But then as the show goes on, he's just still the same. And he gets more full of himself and more full of himself. And it seems like the episodes that are revolved around him are all about how he's so full of himself that he doesn't know what is what, and he's just really an unlikable and arrogant character, and I really started to dislike him, and so I don't even want to finish the show.
Really?
Because I don't like him. I mean, he is just so unlikable and so arrogant and egotistical, his character. Like, I just hate him. He's so obnoxious.
I can't believe it.
And
I thought he was pretty good.
Then they had that in the first season. He's good, but from then on, it seems like he's just going to be stuck as being this trash character. Mm. But he also had the other character, Jethreen, who was his sister.
Oh, yeah.
And that was just him in drag with another actress voicing him. And I felt like that character was fine because that whole gag was funny, but she was hardly even in the series. Mm-hmm. So,
that's funny.
I don't like that character.
I never heard anybody, when I was growing up watching that show, I never heard anybody not like him.
Why?
know. I can't. I'm just trying to think of the show, and I just can't think of anybody who. I liked the show. I just thought it was hilarious, and maybe I feel differently now, but I don't think so.
Well, it's like as the series goes on, he just gets worse and worse and worse.
Well, it's the same thing for me, is back then, there's no way you could watch a repeat from the episode if you missed it, unless you stay tuned to the spring, when they would re-air all the episodes of that season. Of course, remember, they had more episodes for each season back then for all the shows. And so now you can watch something like Beverly Hillbillies, another show. You can watch the whole thing every season.
It's actually hard to watch the show. You cannot purchase episodes from seasons past season 2.
Oh, really?
You have to go to some specific streaming service or buy the expensive box set. Or you can just go to a special website and watch them there. But I don't want to, because I don't like that character.
Well, that's too bad.
And all the episodes where it's around him, he just ruins them because he's so unlikable and so awful.
I can't believe it.
Why?
It's just interesting. I never heard anybody talk about him in a negative way. Just nobody on the show.
The character?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's too bad. And next up is Ethelreda from Fargo Season 4. Now, this is a character where, once again, I'm not criticizing the actress, I'm criticizing the character. If people have a hard time understanding that. This character is like a stereotype. And it's been a stereotype that they've been introducing into movies and shows a lot nowadays. Where you either have a black woman or a black little girl, and she's smarter than every other character in the show or movie. And every scene that they're in, she's always lecturing them about how they're wrong and they're privileged and they're bad. And, so there's so many things in this season where the whole season is trash.
It's a shame.
A terrible waste of potential.
Oh, yeah.
But there's so many moments with her, in the first episode, she's just got this smug look on her face, too, the whole season, and she's talking about how, kids getting paddled in school is, slavery.
Oh,
yeah. And then there's this part where she's, saying that Africa was the birthplace of human civilization or whatever, and it's just what is this character? She literally just exists so that she can lecture all the white people characters.
Or other African Americans, for that matter.
No, she doesn't.
Nah,
She never lectures them in the show. She's only lecturing the white characters.
It's a lecture. Anybody watching it.
Well, I know.
That's what I mean.
But her character is just so unlikable. She never really does anything that makes you like her at all. Except for she steals a mafia ring, and then she kind of uses that, and then she also gets evidence against the nurse Mayflower. But other than that, she never does anything that makes you go, wow, I really like that character. No, the whole season, you hate that character. She's awful, she's so unlikable. And then you had the thing at the end where she's going to go be a writer. And it's yeah, writer for what? Writer for BuzzFeed? Because that's the only place where she'd be writing.
I don't know. There are other characters in the show. The nurse one he talked about was a good character.
They weren't as bad as her, though.
No, I'm saying, I liked those characters. The nurse character was good because she was so evil. And then the Irish guy, I really loved him. He was great. And then they killed him off. So I feel so bad that season had to be, it really sticks out in a negative way. And it's a shame because it was supposed to be about Kansas City.
And if you guys want another example of this kind of character, Chucky Season 2, you had the black female teacher, and she was the one lecturing the head guy at the religious school about how he was wrong about everything, and that the Bible actually says this and the Bible actually says that. And so that would be another example of this type of character. And really, maybe it doesn't even have to be a black girl. It could just be like any race of a girl. You'll have this character, and she just is there to lecture people, as if like she knows everything and she knows better because she's a girl. And it's just
not entertaining.
It's just cringeworthy. It's like something Safi would write.
No, it's not. It's not entertaining at all.
And next up, I'm gonna get Plop from The Office season 9.
Oh.
You don't know about that character?
Probably not. I don't think I've seen all the seasons from The Office, but I do know I do have a character from The Office on my 10 worst TV characters.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I know you have.
I couldn't keep myself.
She was bad on purpose, Safi. She was bad on purpose. But anyways, Plop, he was one of the 2 characters in season 9 where they were trying to say that those were like the doubles of Jim and Dwight, or the new Jim and Dwight. And Plop, he was literally just there so that he could steal Aaron away from Andy, which was very irritating because the writers in season 9 of The Office, besides ruining the whole show, they decided to ruin Andy's character because the actor who played Andy, he left the show for like a couple of months so that he could film The Hangover Part 3. And so they got mad at him for doing that, and they purposefully ruined his character and then had Aaron, his girlfriend, get together with Plop. And Plop's character, he's a terrible character. I mean, the reason why, his name is Plop. Like, they call him Plop on the show because, like, he's always taking dumps. Like, that's what Andy says, and it's like, yeah, that's how trash of a character he is. Like, if your character is named Plop because you just take dumps all the time, then you're not a good character at all.
Ew.
What?
Gross. What a name.
Well, I don't know if he was actually doing that, the character, but it was just like, he was trash. And then second to last would be Erin from The Office. And now it's too bad because she's a good actress. Right, Safi?
Yeah, I liked her.
No, you had a little...
I haven't liked the comments that she's made after not being on the show.
Why?
Oh, it just...
What'd she
it
say?
had something to do with the guy she was with, and... It's nothing. It's a personal thing, and so it doesn't really matter. And I like...
Well, no, you had a crush on her when she was on Kimmy Schmidt.
I did not have a crush on
you
anybody.
did. Yeah, you did.
Bless it, Marco. We should get off of that bullshit.
You want to go to a restaurant and have a Kimmy Schmidt with Kimmy Schmidt.
Marco is BS. He's adding BS to the review.
The thing is that this character, I can't stand her because she is so good at playing this annoying, unlikable character where at first she's really, really quiet and they couldn't decide what to do with her. And then they turned her into this, like, annoying person who is just, like, stupid as hell. I mean, probably, like, the example that I always pull up in regards to her is she's staying with this old woman, and the old woman asks her to get her some tea. And instead of doing that, Erin boils Gatorade and brings her boiled Gatorade in a cup.
Gross.
And it's like a joke that she's so stupid that she did that. Or actually, it might have been hot dog water or something. Like, I can't remember.
God.
Like, it was just so bizarre, her character. And, like, that's what she was like. She was like a wild card. And I really didn't like that. I felt like she was too over the top. She was too exaggerated. But then again, everyone on The Office became way too over the top after season 5. They became like caricatures. Especially her. And then, of course, you have it where she ends up with Plop instead of Andy. That was terrible, too. So, F that character. And finally, you have Caillou from Caillou.
God.
This bald little fuck. I wish that I could take this bald little fuck, chop off his head, use it as a bowling ball until it's into little tiny pieces, and just squish it like a pumpkin, like
That's
a rotten
terrible.
old pumpkin.
So a lot of people didn't like Caillou.
Take his headless body and put it in the fucking wood chipper like in Fargo.
Oh, Marco,
And
that is
then-
awful.
And then Marge arrests me and she says, "Why did you do it? For some
Hun.
money?"
Hun.
And then I would say, "No, because Caillou is a piece of fuck." That's what I would say. Fuck Caillou. What a piece of shit kid this is.
I don't agree.
He's abusive to his sister. He's a crybaby bitch. He's always throwing tantrums. He always acts like he has diarrhea and he just can't stop having diarrhea. Like, this
Marco.
character is the worst ever.
Okay, I don't agree at all. But I've heard that other people did not like him, which is weird.
This kid's so fucking stupid.
I never heard that.
He's at the strawberry field with his fucking grandpa, and he gets some strawberry on his finger, and he gets really upset and goes, "Wah! Wah! I cut my finger!" That's how stupid this little shit is. He thinks that he cut his finger because he got strawberry on his finger or his knee. What kind of dipshit kid is that, Safi?
Oh, okay, that's.
He's not even retarded. He doesn't even have an excuse to be stupid. He is retarded though. I mean, he is the worst. He's worse than like cancer. He's worse than AIDS.
Marco, for heaven's sakes!
And if you think that's bad, just wait till we get to the top 10. Go ahead with your number 10, Safi.
Okay, well, Marco had to remind me of this number 10, because it's a character I didn't watch for that long because I stopped watching the show. But I liked the show. Remember the TV show Daredevil
On Netflix.
on Netflix? The first season was really good.
Yeah, the good Daredevil.
And
not
then-
the bad one they're making for
Actually,
Disney
I
Plus.
liked the movie. But,
No, not the bad one they're making for Disney Plus.
Oh, they're making another one. Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna ruin it.
Oh, well, anyway. But once Elektra joined the show, she totally ruined it for me. And I just couldn't stand watching it anymore. I didn't like her attitude. I just didn't like her at all. And I thought she wrecked Daredevil. And she wrecked his relationship with his best friend. And she could play a part in it. And I just didn't like her. So I didn't watch the rest of the show. I just stopped watching it. And sometimes it's like that. They bring on a character to a show, and it's just like Marco saying he doesn't want to watch the rest of the Beverly Hillbillies. Of course, that guy was a character from the beginning, Jethro. But he doesn't really want to watch the rest of it because he just can't stand the character. And it just messes up the whole enjoying watching the whole show, so I stopped watching it. So that's my number 10. What's yours?
Well, another thing about her character is that after she comes on the show, it seems like all that Matt cares about is her. Like, even in the Defenders show, which Safi didn't see either, it's all about Daredevil and Elektra. Daredevil and Elektra. And then it ends where he sacrifices himself for her, and then they both die together. Or it looks like they both die together, and then he comes back in season 3, and he could be with Karen again. But I just hated that. Like, ever since she was on the show, it's just all about how he really likes her. And something I really hated, even though I thought the actress was pretty good, she's the cleaning lady. Remember that, Safi?
Oh, yeah.
You kept seeing advertisements for a show called The Cleaning Lady. It was
It wasn't
her.
anything. I saw some of it, and it wasn't anything like I thought.
And Safi was like, "I don't like this show. It's not about cleaning."
Well, no,
and-
you could have. I think they have a show. I don't know if it's still on, but it was about women who clean, and it's some kind of show, and it's pretty good. But I don't know if it's still on or not. It was a series, but And don't ask me what it was called.
But another thing I hated about her character was that she's supposed to be a Greek woman.
Oh.
And there's plenty of Greek women out there.
I'm sure.
Who have black hair and who have skin like that. But they got a French woman. And you can tell that she's French. I mean, she is clearly French. Everything is about her French. She probably smells like brie cheese. I mean, like, just she is not a Greek girl at all. They make no attempt to even make her Greek. In fact, I think she even speaks French in an episode. And so they totally ruined that. Like, that's not her character. But my number 10 is the camera guy from The Office Season 9. And in Season 9 of The Office, it was really funny because up until Season 9, the camera crew did not really interfere with the characters on The Office at all. Because they were just there to shoot the documentary. But then there was that guy who painted, vandalized her mural, Pam's mural. And then she vandalized his car in return, and he got so mad that he was going to beat her up and assault her. And that is when the camera guy first interferes. And it just felt like so out of character that, like, finally, after all these, like, horrible things possibly happening, this is when the camera guy comes in to interfere. And we find out that he is like a disgusting, like, white knight character, and that he is trying to get in good with her so that he can break up her and Jim because they're having relationship problems. And, like, he invites her over to his house so that he can try to get with her. And he is just the most unlikable character. Like, I just hated that whole storyline. It was, like, completely unnecessary and stupid. And I don't know what they were thinking. Because, like, there's another moment in the season where somebody almost gets his knees smashed in with a pipe by someone who was hired to come and do that. And the camera people don't interfere with that, but they interfere with Pam in the parking lot. I just think, like, fuck that cameraman. Safi, what's your number 9?
Okay, my number 9 is Peggy from King of the Hill.
Ooh.
And Marco had to remind me about King of the Hill, because I did watch that entire show. Not when it came out, but later on when Marco told me about it, because I was not interested in watching this kind of show. I don't even want to say anything more about it. I don't want to offend anybody, because I have relatives in Texas. I've had relatives from Texas from the 1800s, so I mean, anyway, Peggy she would do this really annoying thing. It just annoyed me all the time. And she also did some things with her son where she was too protective, or she was weird about his behavior, but about something he did that I just couldn't stand it. It was overprotective or stupid, or it just wasn't right. She was kind of like a Mrs. Beaver Cleaver's character in a way, only Texas style sometimes. But anyway,
Well, she was an idiot.
but she would pretend like she knew how to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And she would talk to, something came up where she had to speak, where she thought she had to speak Spanish, and it was just an embarrassment. And I know somebody who does that, and I just despise it.
You know the worst thing that she did, though?
What?
When she went to Mexico and she kidnapped the Mexican little girl.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
On accident.
Right. Forgot about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad. That wasn't just stupid, that was bad. But anyway, I just didn't. She would do these things that I just couldn't stand her. It's supposed to be a comedy show, and I guess that was just maybe she was kind of like a Karen, a Karen mommy. I don't know. She was just maybe even like almost a helicopter mom or something. I mean, there's just a combination of all the bad things you ever would know about a mother. So go ahead.
My number 9 is William from the X-Files. Because before this little shit was even born, you already hated his character. Like, in Season 9, when we watched Season 9 of the X-Files, every time an episode would be revolved around William, Safi would go, "Ugh, this is another William episode. Ugh, all about William. William. Who gives a fuck about William?"
Well, would have been better for William to just stay out of sight and out of mind.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't. I don't want to talk. He's not on my list, but it would have been better. I mean, in other shows,
William.
you have a kid. You never see the kid, or it's very
like,
minimal.
That's always a sign of like a bad show or a show that's getting bad, is that they have a storyline revolving around a kid character.
It's like I can't think of anything else to write.
Yeah, it's desperate. It's desperation.
Well, that's the way I felt too.
The fact that she gives him away after they make all this fuss about his character, like after all of this story, what happens? She gives him away. Like what a bunch of bullshit. And then what did they do in the revival? That shitty revival. Well, after she gave him away, they bring him back and they say, "Oh, it's actually all about him." And they have the whole series finale is all revolved around stupid little William. And what did William turn into? He turned into an emo boy with X-Men powers. Really trash character, really emo and dumb. And the stupidest thing about him was the fact that he was basically a pro-abortion allegory, because the whole point was that Scully didn't want to have him. And so the whole thing is like showing how all this damage was caused because she was forced to have him. And if only she could have aborted him. And it's like, yeah, I know. I mean, I wish William was aborted.
Well, see, now that's a shame. And that's true, that everything he's saying is true, but they've got this case now. In reality, now they've said it just now. Woman's going to have to go out of state. She's being forced to have she can't have an abortion. The baby is will be non-viable after it's born, and she also can become infertile, and also it could kill her. And there's a whole big thing about it. But I mean, that's like right today on the news, the thing about the abortion. But it's just completely different.
You're the one making this longer.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry. But anyway, I just read about it just now. She's leaving the state to get the care she needs.
Oh, maybe you should leave the state.
It might be too late. You just can't mess around. He's talking about somebody not wanting to have a baby.
We're talking about a show here and a character in the show.
I know, we brought it up, but it's just right in front of me, right in the news. So
well, maybe you should can't help being a bad reviewer.
Oh, okay. Well, I never claimed to be an excellent reviewer.
Yeah, you did. You told me off camera you're the best thing since Roger and Ebert.
Oh, God. Not really.
Those pretentious fucks.
Marco is BSing again, but we're on number 8 now, and this is a surprise, but Marco remembers Jan from The Office I hate her character. Now, it's very interesting. I really did not see a lot of episodes with Jan of The Office, but I saw her more in Monk, where she played a very supportive, loving wife.
Trudy.
And she actually was in the recent Monk movie that we just reviewed a few days ago. And he was trying to commit suicide, and she was trying...
Safi, don't spoil that.
I know that, but...
Why are you spoiling that?
Sorry. But anyway, a completely different character. But anyway, the one episode that I will never forget from The Office is they have some kind of... Steve Carell and her have some kind of party, like a dinner party or something at their house, and all the people from the office come. Quite a few of them, maybe not all, I don't know. and she acted horrible.
Oh,
It was
Safi.
very painful to watch the episode, and I will never forget it.
I
And I really, it's funny because I did watch quite a few episodes from The Office, and it was very funny. It was very good. It is still another time where they made multiple episodes, so if something was bad, they would have enough to cover it
yeah.
that were good. And that's the problem with today, when you'll have 6 episodes. You can't afford to make a bad episode or an episode with a character that everybody hates.
Yeah.
And it was so, just thinking about that episode, it's funny. I've watched all these. Now, I don't watch a ton of TV, but I watch enough where, that is the worst thing. It almost should be the number one, but I have worse characters than that because I saw them more often. But I didn't see her that much, but she made such a bad impression on me in this episode that I hated the character and the episode, frankly.
Well, I regret to inform you, Safi, but after we finish American Horror Story next year, we will be watching The Office. So
Well, that'll be fine because there's a lot more.
you will be suffering through Jan.
Jan. Trudy and Jan.
And then number 8 is Lobster Boy from American Horror Story Season 4, played by Evan Peters.
Really?
This is a character who, the whole season, well, he starts off and it's like, oh shit, this is Evan Peters. And he's got lobster hands, and so much of the season is devoted to him and his parents and their whole story. Like the mom, the bearded lady, and how she's going to die because she's got a bad liver. And then the dad, how he's like a closeted person, and he's a strong man, and like, is he going to be good or evil? He ends up choosing evil. And then Lobster Boy, the whole season, he is like groomed to be like this leader character, and like everybody's always telling him like, you're gonna be great, you're gonna do something great, you're gonna be the leader, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, but he never does jack shit by the end of the season. They act like after he has his whole thing where he gets his hands cut off by Stanley, like he's gonna make a comeback and he's gonna defeat the bad guys and do all this stuff and succeed and be the leader of the freaks at the freak show. But he never does that at all. And all that he ends up doing is marrying the twins in the finale, and that's all that he does. Like, he never does anything else of note. So I think he was a really big wasted potential character, because like the whole season they're like, you're going to do something great. You're going to be a leader. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. And it's like, I never saw him do anything. Right, Safi? Remember that?
Yeah.
He didn't do anything.
He wasn't the worst character I think I've ever seen on an American Horror Story.
He got drunk and he slept with that I'm a Wiggles fat woman. And he did. And then he rejected Emma Roberts' character, and then he just sat around and just screw that character.
All right, well, that was number 8. Now, my number 7 is a character Marco's not familiar with at all, but it's Frank from MASH. If anybody ever watched the show MASH, which I watched all of the episodes when it was on, as it came on new, so this was a while back. And I kind of thought too, when making my list, should I put these older characters, should I put them at the beginning or should I put them at the end? But really what you're doing is you're ranking them, some that are worse than others, so you can't really do that. But I did debate that because Marco doesn't know this character at all. But he was very weak, and he whined and complained, and he could have gotten somebody killed. And he put them in danger. The other people, he was a doctor, and they put everybody else in danger by his attitude. And he was the worst. Nobody liked him. And I just pray to God that there's no real character, because for this series, I don't know. I think they might have based some of the things that happened with the characters on things that happened. This was like during the Korean War. But I would pray that they would never have a character like this, a for real person, in any war where the United States had to protect, they're protecting their own, and whatever they're doing and protecting them or themselves, because he was a danger to all of them, because he was so weak, and he was mealy-mouthed and whiny, and he was having an affair with another one of the majors, a nurse, and it was disgusting that she would even have ever given him the time of day. So that was my number 7.
My number 7 is Jessica Jones from Jessica Jones, because I felt like the actress was very good, but they really made rape victims look bad in the show, because they made it seem like if you get raped, then you become this horrible, despicable person who is really unlikable, and you become an alcoholic and just all this crap. And her character, the whole season, she's really, really unlikable in season 1. You really don't root for her at all, because she has no charisma whatsoever. You're more so rooting for the villain, who's the guy who actually raped her. Which is pretty bizarre. It's like, I didn't ever imagine that happening in the show. But it was because he had charisma, and his character was interesting, and her character was just, I'm really upset, I'm a jackass, I'm a drunk, and I'm gonna be a bitch to everyone, I'm not gonna be nice to anyone, I'm gonna be a mean person. And so, like, I didn't like her at all. I felt like,
Don't say it.
What?
That she asked for it.
No, I'm saying that, no, I said that she's just a bad character, like...
That's too bad, because she was good in that apartment show.
And they had the thing where, like, she had the really good costume, which was, like, in the comics, and she refused to wear it because she got raped while she was wearing the costume. And so, like, they just do all this stuff to make her, like, so... unlikable. And it just, I did not like that character. And so I didn't watch seasons 2 or 3, because I didn't like her character at all. Like, she's just cringe.
Okay, well, my number 6 is one that Marco will highly agree, although he may have put her farther on top. But it's Kim from Better Call Saul.
Ew.
Now, the thing is, she started off as okay, but the thing with Jimmy and her relationship with him, they kept changing it, to extremes. Like, you think she was loving and supportive and good, and she really wanted to be with him, to she was embarrassed by him, and she would do anything behind his back, and she treated him terrible at parties, So those are like two extremes. And she agreed to be working with him in an office, and then she went and worked for a company and then could get a lot of support. And then she finds out that it's not a great place to work because they're liars and cheaters, and And I think what happened was the writers got so, and I don't know why, but they just got so, somebody there, or maybe all of them, they got so enamored with her character, they put her, at the end, where she's done a lot of bad things, she just gets to walk off away in the sunset.
Yeah.
While he goes off to prison. Now,
for 80 years.
It's true that the other prisoners were like, because he had done so much for them during his tenure as a lawyer, that it sounded like they were going to support him, and he probably would be able to help them, like in prison, even though he lost his law license, he could help them and he would be popular. But still, for her to walk away and then it just, her whole personality, it went from extreme to extreme, good, bad, sideways. It was just awful. And by the end, you just didn't like her at all. You didn't respect her. And she even wore a Kansas City Royals shirt at least twice.
And she did the finger guns.
I watched the episodes, and that was good because, they're bad. They were really good. But anyway, she wore that shirt. But still, her character was just so, all you did was despise her.
Well, the finger guns moment, it was so cringe when, they tried to make the finger guns moment like when Walter White becomes Heisenberg, and they said, look, this is when Kim is Breaking Bad, and they show her doing the finger guns, and that just makes me want to vomit.
Well, and there was this one thing, it was this one episode where she decided, now I'm not sure if she got mad at what Howard told her, but it disrespected her, and she was so put off by his disrespect. But she wanted to ruin him and his career.
Yeah, that was the same episode. That was the season 5 finale.
And she, even Jimmy was like, I think that's a little bit too much. I don't think we can do that.
But then they
didn't want to do it, and he was the one who's supposedly the bad one.
Yeah, then they treated it like he was the bad guy and not her.
Yeah, and so what happens to Howard? Howard got killed. For no reason. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but it's almost like it was inevitable because of what she did.
It was. And all because of her.
And so I just, their love affair, the writer's love affair for her really ruined the series. I thought. And it seems to me that
I think the fanboys did too, because after the fans were so... because including me, I really liked her character in seasons 1 and 2 and 3. After everybody really spoke up about how they liked her character, they included her a lot in the show because they didn't want to make a Better Call Kim spin-off series. They just wanted to stick her in this show as much as possible. Since fans really liked her, they felt comfortable with doing that.
The thing is, at the end, it just seemed like even though Jimmy had to go to prison for 1,000,000 years, he was the better one.
Yeah.
And he was the better character, and you liked him more than her. Which, by the way, the show was supposed to be about him.
Yeah.
Because everybody liked his character from Breaking Bad, so they made a show about him. They didn't even know who she was in Breaking Bad. So
then they made it all about her.
Yeah, they ended up they tried to make it all about her, but it ended up backfiring. So anyway, go ahead.
Well, my number 6 is Aunt B from the Andy Griffith Show. This character, I just had to put her on the list because, even though she is supposed to be like this, she is like nails on a chalkboard.
Yes.
In season 1, when she gets mad that Opie is spending too much time with his father at the jail, and she forces him to not be with his own father, and she forces him to sit at home and do nothing because she doesn't want him to be influenced by his father. I just thought this person, she deserves like a Salem witch trial type of execution. That's how much I hated her character. And another example of how badly her character sucked would be in Mayberry RFD, she was going to hook up with this captain and marry him. And then she saw this soap opera where there was a captain and he said that he'll always love the sea. He'll never really truly love his wife. And so she was inspired by a soap opera to break off her own marriage because that's what... the soap opera said so. I believe it.
Yeah.
Safi?
Well, I could go on and on, but she's actually on my list.
Number 5.
Number 5 is Lumpy Rutherford, who Marco knows
Oh.
from Leave It to Beaver. I never liked Lumpy. He's spoiled, he's weak, he's childish, he's obnoxious, and he just was, and he didn't care about anybody but himself. And problem is his father and mother promoted him to be that way, especially his father. They didn't show his mom as much, but they showed his dad a lot. And, he'd say, well, Clarence isn't here right now, and Clarence this, because that was his real name, and Clarence that. And I think in real life, this guy is actually an upstanding individual who's worked really hard and had a business and everything, but in the show, I just hated this character. So, and this is an old show, and but I remember I never liked him. I watched this show when I was a kid, and that's that. Go ahead.
But he was meant to be that way.
Well, I suppose so. You can't have everybody who's charming and wonderful.
My number 5 is Naomi from Hell on Wheels. Now, this character... You forgot her?
Yeah, I forgot her, and she should have been on my list.
Yeah, I know. Well, immediately, her character is really misplaced. She starts off as this teenage Mormon girl, and Colin has sex with her. He's a pedophile, and he has sex with her just randomly, and it felt so out of character for him to do that.
And just the whole thing was... It was almost like misplaced. It's like... What show are they talking about?
Actually, in the finale of season 3, they kind of redeemed it, because they had this brilliant finale where they kidnapped Colin, the Mormons, and then they forced him to stay there because he has to be the father of her baby, and he finds out that he had a baby with her, and just the look on his face is priceless. And then in season 4, it seems like he's going to try and make this work with her. He's going to try and make this relationship work. But then, shit happens. She's not likable. She's really annoying, the actress, because there was a different actress that they got for season 4. And I'm not kidding you guys when I say she looks like a fish. I'm serious. She looks like a fish person. And, Fish face Naomi. I mean, Safi, look at that. Doesn't she look like a fish?
Oh, Marco.
Like she could be the Goldfish Crackers mascot. This character.
What's she doing now, anyway?
Oh, who fucking cares? Probably got married and got pregnant. Nope, she's single. That's surprising. So this character, she just gets worse and worse and worse, to the point of where in season 4, she disappears with his son, and he spends half the next season trying to find her. He goes all the way to the other side of the country to find her. He defends her and his son. He fends off the attacker, the Swede, and saves their lives. And what does she do to him in return? She gets with another man, and she marries another man.
A Mormon.
When they were already married. And then she tells him to fuck off, and she never lets him see their child again. Awful, awful character.
Yeah. Okay, number 4 is Eugene from Your Honor.
Ew.
Big surprise. And the thing about... the actor did not fit the part that they were trying to show everybody. They were trying to say that this was a little kid. They kept calling him, quote, a child. He's not a child. He could, I don't know anything about his real life persona, but I think he might be in his 20s. And I know they do this all the time. They did this on Glee. Several of the kids, there were kids, there were maybe 1 or 2 that were maybe almost 30 or over 30. And so I know that they do this. I'm not ignorant about that. But the character, he was not very good. he had two notes. He would be like, psychologists call this, because I used to work in a mental health office, somebody with no affect. And you're talking about somebody going through life and you don't even know what they're thinking or saying. They just have this expressionless face. And in acting, I just don't know how that could be appropriate. And so he had two faces. This one with no affect. When all the stuff was going on, he just was sitting there with no affect, and that was out of place and weird. The other one was, he get almost hysterical over stupid stuff, and especially he murdered somebody in cold blood in front of a ton of witnesses when he found out about the time that he was going to get, because the thing is, he bought a weapon and used, the reason why he bought it was to actually kill somebody. He didn't have any other reason for buying the weapon. It wasn't for protection at all. He bought it because he was going to go after a certain person. So his intent was wrong, and he went there, and unfortunately, well, whatever, he shot and killed the wrong person. And so everybody saw him, and he ran away from the scene, and he got away. And then in the end, because they used this excuse that his family had been murdered by the person he had been trying to kill in the first place, by his family, and for the whole season, I guess maybe the other season too, both seasons, it was a gas leak. It was a gas leak, so it's an accident. Well, guess what? The family had their gas turned off for weeks and weeks and weeks before the quote accident happened. So it was murder. So anyway, he had quote survivor's guilt. So he was allowed to get witness protection by the federal government and walk out of prison. While the guy who played the judge, who never, I don't believe he murdered anybody, he did fix a case to where the guy who killed Eugene's brother in prison got away with it because he was afraid for his life and for his son's life. And but anyway, he had to go back to prison. The judge did, and they showed it at the end. He's almost skipping away to the door into the prison. And then you see Eugene riding off in the sunset in a limo, or some kind of, assistant driving car. So I just couldn't stand his character. It was just, and it was all about him, basically. Or it seemed like it was turning out to be that way, which I don't think that should have been the intent of the story. So anyway, that was my number 4.
My number 4 is Levon from Californication. And this character, he was intentionally annoying, and he was intentionally like a really shitty character, but I just couldn't stand him. And I feel bad for the actor, because every time that I'll see the actor from here on out, I'll always think about Levon. That is how annoying they made this character. Close the fucking door. This character, he is meant to be the exact opposite of the main character. He is supposed to be everything that the main character isn't, and so therefore he's this really unlikable, annoying character. And so I'm going to just give a few examples of how annoying he is. You'll find out if you watch Californication Season 7. He is so bad. He does this thing called the stink finger, where he sticks his fingers in his you-know-what, and then he makes people smell it. And that's the stink finger. And then he's really awkward around girls at work, because he works as like an intern at this TV writing place, So he flashes them, and then he just stands there like a doofus and flashes them because he's awkward around girls, and and so this character, he's just the worst. Like, Safi, what do you think of that character?
It's disgusting.
And then his dad lets him sleep with a prostitute and pays for it, and he decides to do that, and then maybe that will make him a man. But then afterwards it backfires, and he starts hiring the prostitute using his dad's credit card over and over and over again. It just, God, I hate Levon. So, Safi, what's your number 3?
Okay, my number 3 is Dr. Alana Bloom
Ew.
from Hannibal.
That's my number 3, so we can just both talk about her.
Well, it's just her character was really fine at the beginning.
Yeah, season
And
1.
She changed, and it changed and evolved into something that like a monster.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't. It's almost like the change was so dramatic and awful. Really, there was no excuse for it, and it was bizarre and inexplicable. She went from somebody who was good and smart and supportive. I remember, I can't think of the character.
In season 1, she takes care of Will's dogs while he's in the asylum. She takes care of like 10 plus dogs that he owns.
Actually for the show, I think they went to animal shelters and they picked out the best, that they could train and work with and would be okay for the show. These dogs, and so he had taken them all for his own. They were his dogs in the show, and it was really nice. That part of it has nothing to do with the show.
But we should say, what did her character do to be so terrible? Well, while Will was in prison, she wouldn't believe Will. There's all this thing nowadays about believe women, believe women, believe women. Well, she wouldn't believe a man. She would not believe him at all in any way.
Her character went downhill. It started going downhill there.
So then she started sleeping with Hannibal to spite Will. She didn't even like Hannibal. She slept with him to spite Will. She's sleeping with Hannibal Lecter. And then it's really satisfying because Hannibal actually seemingly kills her. And it was really, really satisfying. I was cheering. And clapping. I was so glad that bitch got what she deserved. But then she comes back in season 3 and she turns into a lesbian somehow. Like, I didn't know how that worked. Like, she went from being straight to being a lesbian. And then she just became this horrible character. She became, as Safi said, she became a monster.
Well, you just didn't even recognize her. She was a whole different person.
And it's sad because the actress was so good in the first season.
Yeah, so, and this is a thing where she made things so unpleasant.
Yeah.
That you didn't want to watch the show.
Well, I wanted to watch it because I really liked the show and I wanted to see what happened. Unfortunately,
I finished watching the show too, but it took it like few other shows I can think of, and I won't say. It took some weird, unexpected turns that you would think you were in the Twilight Zone when you watched the show. So,
yeah.
And her character, was actually one of those, and it just made you think, oh, God, what's going to happen now?
Well,
because of her.
Another bad thing was the fact that Brian Full of Himself Fuller admitted that in the finale of season 3, nothing bad happens to Alana because he felt like she deserved a temporary happy ending. He felt like she's been through enough already. Hannibal will eventually get her, as he says, but she deserves a break. And the thing is, he wasn't willing to give any other character on that show a break.
Yeah, what about Will?
He wasn't willing to give Will...
Okay, my number 2 is Nellie from Little House on the Prairie. And everybody who's ever watched Little House on the Prairie knows who Nellie is. And Nellie was a biatch, to put it mildly. and she just thwarted everything that anybody else did, especially Laura and Ingalls and her family. And she was mean, and she was hateful, and she was evil, and she would do sabotage, and she'd do anything to get the upper hand. And one time there was this horse, and it was Laura's, and Laura had to get rid of the horse, and Nellie's father owned the store in town, so they had more money than anybody. And Laura's family were farmers. They're struggling. And so, like many of the other people in town. And so Nellie bought the horse. Her father bought the horse for her, and she was mean to it. And it was, anyway, that was just one example of 1,000. So she played a very despicable character all the way through. I think at the very end of the series, you know, they were older, and the girls were all like getting married and having families. Well, I think she got married, and she actually had a character arc where she changed for the better, pretty much. And so, but she was just the whole way through, she was just a horrible, mean little girl who did anything she could to hurt Laura and her family, or mainly Laura, because they were supposedly the same age. That's my number 2, and I know everybody knows about Nellie. Agrees. I don't think anybody liked Nellie. So, how about you, Marco? What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Eugene from Your Honor.
Oh, who's that?
This character, he started off in season 1 as a character that it's like you kind of felt bad for him because his family got killed, but you kind of didn't because he was a terrible actor. He didn't have any sort of just any emotion or dynamic range. He was just always the same, like, one-note character. He did this thing where after he lost his family, he just ran rampant around New Orleans, and he wanted to be a drug dealer, working for himself or something, instead of being put into the foster care system. And, he just wants to do whatever he wants to do. And then in the finale, he accidentally kills Adam. And then in season 2, he doesn't even ever get held accountable for doing that. Even though he goes to court, he just scoffs at the idea of him going to prison for killing someone innocent. And so in season 2, though, it gets really cartoony because he just gets away with everything. Like in every single episode, it's like they found a new thing for him to get away with. Like he gets away with the money bag. He gets away with drawing pictures of his crimes. He gets away. He manages to travel on foot from Texas to New Orleans in 6 hours, all by himself, all alone with the money bag.
You're lucky you could even drive that.
Yeah. And then, above all that, he gets away with murder. It's just sickening. His character sucks. I hate him. Safi, who's your number 1?
Well, my number 1 is one that Marco's already mentioned, and that's Aunt B from Andy
Griffith show.
Sorry. And I watched that show when I was a kid, and all the way up to adult. I never liked her. I didn't like her then when I was a kid, because Opie and I were like about the same age in real life. And so I watched it when I was a kid, all the way through. And I watched, even as an adult, after having my own children, even being a grandmother, although I don't get to see her very often. I don't like her character. I thought she was oppressive. I thought she was conservative. I thought she was whiny. And that episode where she gets concerned about Opie hanging out at the jail. I mean, my God, they hardly have anybody there, and they're really, it's really not that big of a deal. I mean, basically, she's like showing she doesn't even have any faith in her own, what would he be, her nephew? Andy, whatever relationship they are to each other. But the little boy wanted to be with his father. They were kind of like having a bonding thing and being together and doing together things. And she was against that, and all she wanted to do was for him to stay home. And there was all kinds of things that went on where she just would say, she was like a big naysayer, and she just didn't like anything, and she didn't like anything new or anything different. And apparently she was a little bit like this in her real existence, and she pissed off a few of the actors because of her weirdo attitude. And she got mad at Andy, I think in real life, at the end. And I don't know why exactly, but they were kind of like on the outs. And I think she was kind of like against everybody in the whole cast. I don't know. She just wasn't very... She was just... I don't know. I thought she was way too strict. And they're living in a small town, and I mean, they're just really... They have a few bad things happen. They come in, but they're quickly taken care of, and they really have nothing to fear. And it's just for her to be so over the top and restrictive. It was just sickening, and I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it then when I was a kid, and I couldn't stand it, and I can't stand it now as an adult. So she's my number one worst character, and it didn't take me any time at all to think of her as my worst TV character. So go ahead.
My number one is obviously Kim from Better Call Saul. This character really makes me upset because seasons 1 and 2 and 3, I felt like, wow, this is a great female character. She's a really nice character, and she works really well with Jimmy, the protagonist of the show. But then something happened sinister where the writers fell in love with her, and they wanted to make her like the star of the show. So in seasons 4 and on, it basically turned into Better Call Kim. And she got worse and worse as a character in terms of, like, as Safi said, like, there was the part where Jimmy was really looking forward to working with her in an office again. And he made all these drawings about their logo, and he was really excited, and she crushed his dreams and said, like, no, I'm going to join this big law firm where I can get all this acclaim and these awards, and I can get all this money. It was a bad law firm. And then after that, she just got worse and worse, and she started just being awful to Jimmy and being so unsupportive. It was like she didn't even like him at all. And then in season 6, they turned her into like a different character. And it was all because Vince Gilligan had a midlife crisis. He was very upset that people do not like Skylar from Breaking Bad. I don't think that she's terrible.
I don't either. I saw that.
I thought that she got better as the show went along, actually. And in season 5, the final season, I thought she was one of the better characters. Because she became like the perfect counterpart for her husband. Whereas Kim, she became like his opposition, where they did all this evil shit together.
And it was her idea.
And it's all because Vince Gilligan, he did like a rewrite of the final season. And the way that you can tell that he did a rewrite is because, for no reason ever stated, he recast the actor who played the cab driver who recognized Gene in the future timeline. And this was because he redid that whole season so that it would all be built around Kim, and it would be all about Kim. And so then they do all this evil shit, and Kim just gets away with it. And yeah, she cries on the bus. Boo fucking who. She gets away with all the horrible shit that she did. She gets no consequences. When she's going to be sued by Howard's wife, ex-wife, Jimmy sacrifices himself for her like a simp, and he gets 80 years in prison so that he can protect her, because it's all about Kim. And even the final shot of the show, it's not about Jimmy McGill, it's about showing him doing the finger guns to Kim as a callback to Kim doing the finger guns in the season 5 finale when she, quote-unquote, broke bad.
Oh, God.
Safi?
Well, it's amazing because he's been in a movie since then. Of course, he did have a terrible heart attack. And then another show. And I don't even know what she's done. I guess she had a show, but I never heard a thing about it. So, all that uplifting her and showcasing her didn't do a thing for her career.
No, and I saw, too, that the actress who played Naomi in Hell on Wheels, since that show, she did one episode of a miniseries. She did 34 episodes of a series that I've never heard of. And from then on, she has done nothing but music videos. And this year she did a TV movie, and it doesn't look very good. It's called Rancher 101. I mean, that just sounds fucking retarded. She's the co-star. It looks like a bargain bin Barbie. It follows Isabella as she lands a dream role as a rancher. The studio sends her to live on a ranch to learn the ropes, but she discovers that the rancher is too busy trying to save his ranch from ruin to help make her dreams come true. Gross. It
sounds like a Lifetime or a Hallmark movie.
Yeah. Ew.
Ew.
You like that, Safi?
No.
Ew. And she doesn't look very good, too. It looks like she's changed herself since Hell on Wheels.
Yeah. That looks like kitty litter. So anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers. And what are your worst TV characters that you can think of? Do you agree with ours, or what more can you add? What ones do you know about, or that you don't like, that we didn't mention? So goodbye, everybody.
But this actress actually, she kind of looks like the girl in Beverly Hillbillies.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, she does not look like Donna. I can't think. Donna.
Yeah, she looks like the girl from Beverly Hillbillies.
That's Donna. Donna, I can't think of her last name.
Look at her. She looks like her. You don't think that she looks like her?
No.
Yeah, she looks like her.
No. Bye, everybody.
Bye.